30 Years Among the Dead by Carl A. Wickland, MD. This is Chapter 3, Subconscious Mind, an Autosuggestion Hypothesis Untenable. During 30 years of indefatigable research among the dead, quote-unquote, such startling conditions have been revealed that it seems incredible intelligent reasoners along other lines of thought could have so long ignored the simple facts, which can so readily be verified. There is utter impossibility of fraud in these experiences. Foreign languages totally unknown to Mrs. Wickland are spoken, expressions never heard by her are used, while the identity of the controlling spirits has again and again been verified and corroborations innumerable have been made. On one occasion I conversed with 21 different spirits who spoke through my wife, the majority giving me satisfactory evidence of being certain friends and relatives known to me while they were incarnated. In all they spoke 6 different languages, while my wife speaks only Swedish and English. From one patient, Mrs. A., who was brought to us from Chicago, 13 different spirits were dislodged and allowed to control Mrs. Wickland, and of these, 7 were recognized by the patient's mother. Mrs. H.W., as relatives of friends, were well known to her during their earth lives. One was a minister, formerly pastor of the Methodist Church of which Mrs. H.W. was a member, who had been killed in a railroad accident 9 years previous but was still unconscious of the fact. Another was her sister-in-law. There were also 3 elderly women, family friends for years, a neighbor boy, and the mother-in-law of the patient, all entirely unknown to Mrs. Wickland. Mrs. H.W. conversed at length with each one as they spoke through Mrs. Wickland, verifying innumerable statements made by the spirits and assisted in bringing them to a realization of their changed condition, and of the fact that they had been obsessing her daughter. This patient is today entirely well and actively occupied with social, musical, and family affairs. Another case will show clearly the transfer of psychosis from one patient to intermediary, and the impossibility of either subconscious mind or multiple personalities playing any role as far as the psychic is concerned. One summer evening we were called to the home of Mrs. M., a lady of culture and refinement. She was a musician of high rank, and when the social demands made upon her proved too great, she suffered a nervous breakdown. She had become intractable, and for 6 weeks had been in such a raving condition that her physicians had been unable to relieve her, and day and night nurses were in constant attendance. We found the patient sitting up in her bed, crying 1 minute, like a forlorn child, and again screaming in fear, "Matilda, Matilda!" Then suddenly fighting and struggling, she would talk a wild gibberish of English and Spanish, the latter a language of which she had no knowledge. Mrs. Wickland immediately gave her psychic diagnosis, saying the case was unquestionably one of obsession, and this was unexpectedly confirmed when Mrs. Wickland, who was standing at the foot of the bed, with wraps on ready to leave, was found to be suddenly entranced. We placed her on the davenport in the music room, where for 2 hours I talked in turn with several spirits who had just been attracted from the patient. There were 3 spirits, a girl named Mary, her suitor, an American, and his Mexican rival, Mattia. Both of the men had vehemently loved the girl, and his Mexican rival, Mattia. Both of the men had vehemently loved the girl and as fiercely hated each other. In a jealous rage, one had killed the girl, and then in a desperate fight, the 2 rivals had killed each other. All were unaware of being dead, although Mary said, weeping wretchedly, "I thought they were going to kill each other, but here they are, still fighting." This tragedy of love, hatred, and jealousy had not ended with physical death. The group had unconsciously been drawn into the psychic atmosphere of the patient, and the violent fighting had continued within her aura. Since her nervous resistance was exceedingly low at this time, one after the other had usurped her physical body, with the resulting disturbance that was unexplainable by her attendants. With great difficulty, her nervous resistance was exceedingly low, one after the other had usurped her physical body. With great difficulty, the 3 spirits were convinced that they had lost their physical bodies, but at last they recognized the truth and were taken away by our invisible co-workers. Meanwhile, the patient had arisen and, speaking rationally to the astonished nurse, walked quietly about her room. Presently she said, "I am going to sleep well tonight," and returning to bed, fell asleep without the usual sedatives, and rested quietly throughout the night. The following day, attended by a nurse, she was brought to our home. We dismissed the nurse, discarded her medicines, and after an electrical treatment, the patient had her dinner in the general dining room with the other patients, and that evening attended a function given in our social hall. Another spirit was removed from her the next day. This was a little girl who had been killed in the San Francisco earthquake, and who cried constantly, saying she was lost in the dark. It is needless to add that she was comforted and promptly cared for by spirit friends who had been unable to reach her while she was enmeshed in the aura of a psychic sensitive. After some months of treatment, rest, and recuperation, the patient returned to her home and resumed her normal life again. One of our early experiences in Chicago occurred on the 15th of November, 1906. During one of our psychic circles, Mrs. Wicklin, entranced by a strange entity, fell prostrate on the floor and remained in a comatose condition for some time. The spirit was at last brought to the front and acted as though in great pain, repeatedly saying, "Why didn't I take more carbolic acid? I want to die. I'm so tired of living." In a weak voice, the spirit complained of the dense darkness all about, and was unable to see an electric light shining directly into her face. She whispered faintly, "My poor son," and when pressed for information said that her name was Mary Rose and that she lived at 202 South Green Street, a street entirely unknown to us at that time. At first she could not remember any date, but when asked, "Is it November 15th, 1906?" she replied, "No, that is next week." Life had been a bitter disappointment to her. She had suffered constantly from chronic abdominal ailments, and finally resolving to end her miserable existence, she had taken poison. She could not at first realize that she had succeeded in destroying her physical body, for like most suicides, she was in total ignorance of the indestructibility of life and the reality of the hereafter. When the real purpose of life, experience, and suffering had been made clearer to her, she was overcome with repentance and offered a sincere prayer for forgiveness. Then her spiritual sight opened slightly, and she saw dimly the spirit figure of her grandmother, who had come to take her to the spirit world. Subsequent inquiry at the address given by the spirit proved her statements to be true. A woman by the name given had lived at this house. She still had a son living there, and we were told that Mrs. Rose had been taken to the Cook County Hospital and had died there the week before. Upon investigation at the hospital, we found further verification of the facts and were given a copy of the record of the case. Cook County Hospital, Chicago, Illinois. Mary Rose, admitted November 7, 1906, died November 8, 1906, carbolic acid poisoning. Another case will show the identification of a spirit is often possible. Mrs. FL, or F1, I'm not sure what that is. A patient who had been declared incurably insane by several physicians was a refined lady of gentle disposition who had become very wild and unmanageable, swearing constantly and fighting with such violence that several persons were required to restrain her. She was also subject to coma states, again to fainting spells, would refuse food, announced that she had been married above by celestial powers, and used extraordinarily vile language. These various phases alternated constantly, but no full proof of obsession was evident, until one day when Mrs. FL lost all power of speech and, mumbling idiotically, simulated perfectly a deaf and dumb person. At this time, a gentleman from an adjoining state came to the house to visit a patient, and shortly after his arrival, the nurse who attended Mrs. FL reported that the patient had again changed and was talking like a little child. So striking was this alteration that the gentleman was asked to step into the room to observe the patient. He was a total stranger to her, but as he entered the room, she pointed to him and said in a high childish voice, "I know that man. He used to put bows on my shoulders, and he pulled my toofies. He took me to a gypsy camp too. He lived right across the street from me and used to call me Rosebud. I'm 4 years old." The astonished gentleman corroborated every statement, saying that he had known such a child in his hometown of Iowa, but she had died a year before. He explained that he was very fond of children, and had on several occasions taken the child to a gypsy camp, and that whenever he bought taffy on a stick for the little girl, he would tug at the stick while she was eating the candy and playfully threaten to pull her teeth. It was evident that affection had attracted the spirit to her friend, and that she found in Mrs. FL a vehicle through which she could make her presence known to the gentleman. The patient was relieved of the spirit and gradually of other obsessing influences, and several months later was pronounced entirely competent to sign legal papers, being declared normal and sane by a judge and jury. Another case in point was that of Mrs. O, who was a cook in a restaurant. She had observed the waitress acting queerly, laboring under delusions and hallucinations, and brought her to my office. After an electrical treatment, the patient declared she felt greatly relieved and returned to her home, but that night Mrs. O herself became disturbed by an unaccountable condition which prevented her from sleeping, and her restlessness continued till 10 o'clock the following morning, when in the midst of her preparations for dinner she suddenly became wild, tore her hair, and threatened to harm herself. I was sent for and arriving found her raving in a demented condition, complaining of being chased here and there and being unable to find a resting place. Suspecting the presence of an invisible entity, I placed Mrs. O in a chair, pinioned her arms to prevent a struggle, and after several remarks, the entity declared it was a man, but denied being dead or obsessing a woman. The spirit said his name was Jack, and that he was an uncle of the troubled waitress, and that he had been a vagabond in life. After reasoning with the intelligence, he began to realize his situation, and promising to cause no further annoyance, he left. Mrs. O then immediately became her normal self and returned to work without any further disturbance. It was later ascertained from the waitress that she had an uncle named Jack who had been a vagabond and that he was dead. In this experience, Mrs. O had acted as a psychic intermediary to whom the spirit obsessing the waitress had been transferred. A number of years ago, Dr. Lidston wrote in the Chicago papers of a patient who, although having no knowledge of French or music, sang well the Marseillaise in French when placed under the influence of an anesthetic. Dr. Lidston, denying the continued existence of the ego, explained this phenomenon as one of subliminal consciousness, or unconscious memory, comparing it with the case of the uneducated domestic who, in delirium, recited classic Latin as perfectly as her former employer, a professor of Latin, had done during his life. I replied in a newspaper article that such phenomena were frequently met with in psychic research and stated that despite the classification of materialistic scientists, these cases clearly proved the posthumous existence of spirits and their ability to communicate through mortals. I added that if the truth were known about these two cases, we would find that the man who sang French was a psychic sensitive and had at the time been controlled by some outside intelligence, while in all probability the domestic who recited Latin was obsessed by the spirit of the former professor. Shortly after this, the gentleman alluded to by Dr. Lidson called on me, having read my article, and said, "I don't know anything about French, but I do know that I am bothered to death by spirits." In the study of cases of multiple personalities, dissociated personalities, or disintegrated states of consciousness, modern psychologists disclaim the possibility of foreign intelligences on the ground that these personalities give neither evidence of supernormal knowledge nor as being of spiritistic origin. Our experience to the contrary has proven that the majority of these intelligences are oblivious to their transition, and hence it does not enter their minds that they are spirits, and they are loath to recognize the fact. Our experience to the contrary has proven that the majority of these intelligences are oblivious to their transition, and hence it does not enter their minds that they are spirits, and they are loath to recognize the fact. In the case of Miss Beauchamp, as recorded by Dr. Morton Prince in the dissociation of a personality reporting 4 alternating personalities, no claim was made that any outside intelligences was responsible for the various personalities, and yet Sally, personality 3, insisted that she herself was not the same as Miss Beauchamp. Christine, that her own consciousness was distinct from that of Miss Beauchamp, and told of Miss Beauchamp's learning to walk and talk. When she was a very little girl, just learning to walk, I remember her thoughts distinctly as separate from mine. Similarly, in the case of Bernice Reddick of Ohio, the young schoolgirl who constantly changed from her normal self to the personality of Polly as an unruly child, every indication is given of the influence of a discarnate spirit, probably ignorant of being dead, controlling Miss Reddick. That such personalities are independent entities could easily be proven under proper conditions by transference of the same to a psychic intermediary, as similar experiments have so abundantly demonstrated. Any attempt to explain our experiences on the theory of the subconscious mind and autosuggestion or multiple personalities would be untenable, since it is manifestly impossible that Miss Wickland should have 1,000 personalities, and since it is so readily possible to cause transference of psychosis from a supposedly insane person to Miss Wickland, relieving the victim, and in this way discovering that the disturbance was due to a discarnate entity whose entity can often be verified. Individuals who are clairaudient suffer greatly from the constant annoyance of hearing the voices of the obsessing entities, the auditory hallucinations frequently observed by alienists, and when such a person is present in a psychic circle, where the spirits are dislodged and transferred to the psychic intermediary, interesting developments occur. An illusion in the case of Mrs. Burton, a clairaudient patient who was constantly combating obsessing spirits, and who, while attending our circle, was relieved of her unwelcome companions. In the following records, the conversation of the spirits through the psychic Mrs. Wickland will elucidate the characteristics of several entities. So this is where there's a lot of back and forth, pretty much from, I think, here on out. Most of these will go like this, where there's a dialogue I'm not sure how I'm going to read this or if I'm going to start one way and go a different way. So let's start here. Spirit, Carrie Huntington. The patient, Mrs. Burton. Doctor, tell us who you are. Spirit, I do not wish you to hold my hands. Doctor, you must sit still. Spirit, why do you treat me like this? Doctor, who are you? Spirit, why do you want to know? Doctor, you have come here as a stranger, and we would like to know who you are. Spirit, what are you so interested for? Doctor, we should like to know with whom we are associating. If a stranger came to your home, would you not like to know his name? Spirit, I do not want to be here, and I do not know any of you. Somebody pushed me in here, and I do not think it is right to force me in like that. And when I came in and sat down on the chair, you grabbed my hands as if I were a prisoner. Why was I pushed in here? Brought in control of psychic by guiding intelligences. Doctor, you were probably in the dark. Spirit, it seems somebody took me by force. Doctor, was there any reason for it? Spirit, I do not know of any reason, and I do not see why I should be bothered like that. Doctor, was no reason given for handling you in this manner. Spirit, it has been a terrible time for me, for quite a while. I have been tormented to death. I have been driven here, there, and everywhere. I am getting so provoked about it that I feel like giving everything a good shaking. Doctor, what have they done to you? It seems so terrible. If I walk around, I am so very miserable. I do not know what it is. Sometimes it seems as if my senses were being knocked out of me. Something comes on me like thunder and lightning. The static treatment of the patient. It makes such a noise, this terrible noise, it is awful. I cannot stand it anymore, and I will not, either. Doctor, we shall be glad if you will not stand it any more. Spirit, am I not welcome? And if I am not, I do not care. Doctor, you are not very particular. Spirit, I have had so much hardship. Doctor, how long have you been dead? Spirit, why do you speak to me that way? I am not dead. I am as alive as I can be, and I feel as if I were young again. Doctor, have you not felt at times as if you were somebody else? Spirit, at times I feel very strange, especially when it knocks me senseless. I feel very bad. I do not feel that I should have this suffering. I do not know why I have such things. Why I should have such things. Doctor, probably it is necessary. Spirit, I feel I should be free to go where I please. But it seems I have no will of my own anymore. I try, but it seems somebody else takes possession of me and gets me into some place where they knock me nearly senseless. If I knew it, I never would go there. But there is a person who seems to have the right to take me everywhere, and I feel I should have the right to take her, referring to this patient. Doctor, what business have you with her? Can't you live your own life? Spirit, I live my own life, but she interferes with me. I talk to her. She wants to chase me out. I feel like chasing her out, and that is a real struggle. I cannot see why I should not have the right just as well as she has. Doctor, probably you are interfering with her. Spirit, she wants to get rid of me. I am not bothering her. I only talk to her sometimes. Doctor, does she know you talk to her? Spirit, sometimes she does, and then she chases me right out. She acts all right, but she gets so provoked. Then when she gets into that place, I am knocked senseless, and I feel terrible. I have no power to take her away. She makes me get out. Doctor, you should not stay around her. Spirit, it is my body, it is not hers. She has no right there. I do not see why she interferes with me. Doctor, she interferes with your selfishness. Spirit, I feel I have some right in life. I think so. Doctor, you passed out of your body without understanding the fact and have been bothering a lady. You should go to the spirit world and not hover around here. Spirit, you say I am hovering around. I am not hovering around, and I am not one to interfere, but I want a little to say about things. Doctor, that was why you had the thunder, quote, and the knocks. Spirit, that was all right for a while, but lately is terrible. I must have understanding. Doctor, you will have it now. Spirit, I will do anything to stop that terrible knocking. Mrs. B, recognizing Spirit as one who had been troubling her. I am mighty tired of you. Who are you anyway? Spirit, I am a stranger. Mrs. B, what is your name? Spirit, my name? Mrs. B, have you one? Spirit, my name is Carrie. Mrs. B, Carrie what? Spirit, Carrie Huntington. Mrs. B, where did you live? Spirit, San Antonio, Texas. Mrs. B, you have been with me a long time, haven't you? It had been a number of years since Mrs. B had been in San Antonio. Spirit, you have been with me a long time. I should like to find out why you interfere with me. I recognize you now. Mrs. B, what street did you live on? Spirit, I lived in many different places there. Doctor, do you realize the fact that you have lost your own mortal body? Can you remember having been sick? Spirit, the last I remember, I was in El Paso. I do not remember anything after that. I went there and I do not seem to remember when I left. It seems that I should be there now. I got very sick one day there. Doctor, probably you lost your body then. Spirit, after El Paso, I do not know where I went. I went some distance. I traveled on the railroad, and it was just like I was nobody. Nobody asked me anything, and I had to follow that lady, Mrs. B, as if I were her servant, and I feel very annoyed about it. Mrs. B, you worried me to death because you sang all the time. Spirit, I had to do something to attract your attention because you would not listen to me any other way. You traveled on the train, and it took me away from my home and folks, and I feel very much hurt about it. Do you understand? Mrs. B, I understand you far better than you do me. Doctor, can't you realize what has been the matter with you? Spirit, I want to tell you that I do not want those knockings any more, and I will stay away. Doctor, understand your condition. Understand that you are an ignorant, obsessing spirit and that you have no physical body. You died probably at the time you were sick. Spirit, could you talk to a ghost? Doctor, such things certainly do happen. Spirit, I am not a ghost because ghosts cannot talk. When you are dead, you lie there. Doctor, when the body dies, it lies there, but the spirit does not. Spirit, that goes to God who gave it. Doctor, where is he? Where is that God? Spirit, in heaven. Doctor, where is that? Spirit, it is where you go to find Jesus. Doctor, the Bible says God is love, and that he dwelleth in love, and that he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God. Where will you find that God? Spirit, I suppose in heaven. I cannot tell you anything about it, but I know I have been in the worst hell you could give me with those knockings. I do not see that they have done me any good. I do not like them at all. Doctor, then you must stay away from that lady. Spirit, I see her well now, and I can have a real conversation with her. Doctor, yes, but this will be the last time. Spirit, how do you know it will? Doctor, when you leave here, you will understand that you have been talking through another person's body. That person is my wife. Spirit, what nonsense. I thought you looked wiser than to talk such nonsense. Doctor, it may seem foolish, but look at your hands. Do you recognize them? Spirit, they do not look like mine, but so much has taken place lately that I do not know what I shall do. That lady over there, Mrs. B, has been acting like a madman, and I have taken it as it came, so I shall have to find out what she thinks of doing and why she does those things to me. Doctor, she will be very happy to be rid of you. Mrs. B, Carrie, how old are you? Spirit, you know that a lady never wants to tell her age. Doctor, especially if she happens to be a spinster. Spirit, please excuse me. You will have to take it as it is. I will not tell my age to anyone. Doctor, have you ever been married? Spirit, yes, I was married to a fellow, but I did not care for him. Doctor, what was his name? That is a secret with me. I would not have his name mentioned for anything, and I do not want to carry his name either. My name is Carrie Huntington because it was my name, and I do not want to carry his name. Doctor, do you not want to go to the spirit world? Spirit, what foolish questions you put to me. Doctor, it may seem foolish to you, but nevertheless there is a spirit world. Spiritual things often seem foolish to the mortal mind. You have lost your body. Spirit, I have not lost my body. I have been with this lady, but she eats too much and gets too strong. Then I have no power over her body, not as much as I want to. To Mrs. B, I want you to eat, but I want you to eat less. I try very much to dictate to you to not eat that and that, but you have no sense. You do not even listen to me. Mrs. B, this is the place I told you to go, but you would not go by yourself. Spirit, I know it, but you have no business to take me where I get those knockings. I do not want to stay with you if you take those awful knockings. Doctor, they are in the next room. Do you want some? Spirit, no thank you, not from me any more. Doctor, listen to what is told you, then you will not need any more. You are an ignorant spirit. I mean you are ignorant of your condition. You lost your body, evidently without knowing it. Spirit, how do you know? Doctor, you are now controlling my wife's body. Spirit, I never saw you before, so how in the wide world can you think I should be called your wife? No, never. Doctor, I do not want you to be. Spirit, I don't want you either. The doctor, I don't want you to control my wife's body much longer. You must realize that you have lost your physical body. Do you recognize these hands? Mrs. Wickland's hands. Spirit, I've changed so much lately that all those changes make me crazy. It makes me tired. Doctor, now Carrie, be sensible. Spirit, I am sensible. And don't you tell me differently, else you will have someone to tell you something you never heard before. Doctor, now Carrie. Spirit, I am Mrs. Carrie Huntington. Mrs. B, you listen to what the doctor has to say to you. Spirit, I will not listen to anyone. I tell you once for all. I have been from one to another, and I do not care what becomes of me. Doctor, do you know you are talking through my wife's body? Spirit, such nonsense. I think that's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. Doctor, now you will have to be sensible. Spirit, sensible. I am sensible. Are you a perfect man? Doctor, no, I am not, but I tell you that you are not. I tell you that you are an ignorant, selfish spirit. You have been bothering that lady for some time, and we have chased you out, but by the use of those knocks. And we have chased you out by the use of those knocks. Whether you understand it or not, you are an ignorant spirit. You will have to behave yourself, or else I will take you to the office and give you more of those knocks. Spirit, I don't want those knocks. Doctor, then change your disposition. Realize that there is no death. When people lose their bodies, they merely become invisible to mortals. You are invisible to us. Spirit, I will have nothing to do with you. Doctor, we want to help you and make you understand your condition. Spirit, I don't need help. Doctor, if you don't behave, you will be taken away by intelligent spirits and placed in a dungeon. Spirit, you think you can scare me. You will find out what will happen to you. Doctor, you must overcome your selfish disposition. Look around. You may see someone who will make you care. You may see someone who will make you cry. Spirit, I don't want to cry. I like to sing instead of cry. Doctor, where is your mother? Spirit, I haven't seen her for a long time. My mother? My mother. She's in heaven. She was a good woman, and is with God and the Holy Ghost, and all of them. Doctor, look around and see if your mother is not here. Spirit, this place is not heaven, far from it. If this is heaven, then it is worse than hell. Doctor, look for your mother. She will put you to shame. Spirit, I have done nothing to be ashamed of. What business have you to give me these knocks and have put me in a dungeon? That lady and I made a bargain. Doctor, she made a bargain to come here and get rid of you. You have been fired out by electricity. You have lost your company. Spirit, yes, for a while they all left me. I can't find them. Other obsessing spirits. Why did you chase that fellow away? Doctor, this lady wants her body herself. She does not want to be tormented by earthbound spirits. Would you like them around you? Spirit, I don't know what you mean. Doctor, can't you realize that you bothered that lady and made her life a perfect hell? Spirit, to Mrs. B, I have not bothered you. Mrs. B, you woke me up at 3 o'clock this morning. Spirit, well, you have no business to sleep. Doctor, you must live your own life. Spirit, I will. Doctor, that will be in a dark dungeon if you do not behave yourself. Spirit, how do you know? Doctor, you cannot stay here. You had better be humble and ask for help. That is what you need. My wife and I have been following this work for many years, and she allows all sorts of spirits to use her body so they may be helped. Spirit, sarcastically, she is very good. Doctor, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Do you see your mother? Spirit, I don't want to see her. I don't want to call her away from heaven. Doctor, since heaven is a condition of happiness, she could not be in any heaven with a daughter like you. She could not be happy. Suppose you were in heaven and had a daughter. Would you like her to act as you do? Spirit, I do not act contrary. What is the situation? Tell me that. Doctor, I have already told you the situation. You are controlling my wife's body. Spirit, how do I do that? Doctor, because of higher laws and because you are a spirit, spirit and mind are invisible. You are so selfish that you do not care to understand. Spirit, this is not heaven. Doctor, this is Los Angeles, California. Spirit, for God's sake, no. An expression never used by Mrs. Wicklund. How did I come here? Doctor, by staying around that lady. That is how. She had to take those knocks to get you out. Spirit, she is a fool to do it. Doctor, she wants to get rid of you, and she will get rid of you. Spirit, I will not have those knocks anymore. Doctor, higher spirits will show you something you do not like if you do not behave yourself. Spirit, shrinking from some vision. I don't want that. Doctor, it is not what you want. It is what you get. Spirit, is that so? As nothing could be done to bring the spirit to an understanding, she was taken away by intelligent spirits. Upon a later occasion, when the patient Mrs. Burton was in the circle, another spirit was removed from her, and controlling Mrs. Wicklund spoke in a very individualistic manner. The spirit, Jimmy Huntington. Patient, Mrs. Burton. The spirit kicked off both shoes and seemed greatly disturbed. Doctor, what seems to be the trouble? Have you been in an accident of some kind? Holding Psychic's hand firmly. You have no shoes on. Spirit, I took them off. Doctor, tell us who you are. Spirit, I don't know whether I want to. Doctor, tell us where you came from. Spirit, I don't know that I have to do that. Spirit, Doctor, we would like to know who you are. What seems to be the trouble? You don't seem to be comfortable. Spirit, I am not. Doctor, what have you been doing lately? Spirit, I haven't been doing anything. I've just been walking around. Doctor, and what else? Spirit, why, nothing in particular. It seems that I've been shut up somewhere in this patient's aura. Doctor, in what way? Spirit, I don't know how it is, but I couldn't get out. Doctor, how would you explain that? Spirit, I can't explain it in any way. Doctor, did you hear any talking? Spirit, yes, many people talked. Doctor, what did they say? Spirit, one said one thing, one another. They all think they are so smart. Doctor, did you ever have any chance to say anything? Spirit, yes, but I got so mad because there was always a woman there. She knew all I wanted to say. I felt that sometimes I should have a chance. Whenever they talked, that woman talked. A man has no chance to say anything when a woman begins to talk. Doctor, you must have been a married man. Spirit, why, yes, I am married. Doctor, was it a success or a failure? Spirit, I don't know what it was. An excuse, anyway. I was not so very happy. Women always talk too much. They can't leave a fellow alone a minute at a time. Doctor, what did they talk about? Spirit, it's that woman. She talks and talks and talks. Patient Mrs. Burton, who talked constantly. She never can keep still very long at a time. I felt sometimes like shaking her good. We just had some new company come in. They talk and talk. It makes me sick. They make me get out. They are the worst I ever saw. Doctor, did anything happen at all? Spirit, lightning played around my head until I didn't know where it was. Electrical treatment given to the patient. I thought it was far distant, but my God, and stars in heaven, how it hit me. Doctor, what did you want to do at such times? Spirit, I wanted to get hold of that lightning and try to stop it hitting my head. But the lightning strikes every time. It never misses. Lightning used to be different. It didn't always strike. But now it never misses. I never saw anything like it. There are some stars before your eyes, and it feels terrible, but even while the lightning strikes, that woman keeps right on talking. Patient talked throughout the treatment. Doctor, what does she talk about? Spirit, nothing. She wants to be boss, and I want to be boss, so there we are. Doctor, what does she say? Spirit, you know how it is with women. They talk and talk, but there is never anything to it. Doctor, does this lady address you? Spirit, she torments me all the time. I feel like shaking her, but I don't seem to have any power anymore. Then there is another woman, and she goes right at it too. It makes me sick. What can you do with a woman to make her stop talking? If you can get any woman to stop talking, you'll have a pretty hard time to do it. Doctor, what is your name? Spirit, it's a long time since I heard it. Doctor, where did you come from? Are you in California? No. Spirit, no, I'm in Texas. Doctor, what did your mother call you when you were a boy? Spirit, James was my name, but they always called me Jimmy. Spirit, gosh, I don't know what is the matter with me. That lightning gets on my knees and feet and from my head to my feet, but what I can't understand is it never misses its aim. Doctor, how old are you? Spirit, I will say that I am a man about 50 years of age, but I want to say that during all my life I never saw such lightning before, and what I can't understand is that nothing ever catches fire from it. Gosh, yesterday I got into a regular nest. It was the worst I ever saw in my whole life. I think every one was the devil, obsessing spirits. There's another one standing over there, and that came today. Doctor, how long have you been dead, Jimmy? Spirit, what do you mean? I mean, how long is it since you lost your body? Spirit, I haven't lost it yet. Doctor, don't you realize that you are in a strange condition? Spirit, I have been like that for a long time. Doctor, did you ever work in the oil business in Texas? Spirit, I don't know where I've been working. Things are very queer. Doctor, where did you work? Spirit, in the blacksmith shop. Doctor, do you know what year it is? Spirit, no, I don't. Doctor, how are you going to vote this fall? For whom will you vote for president? Spirit, I don't know yet. Doctor, how do you like the present president? Spirit, I like him. He's pretty good. Doctor, do you know anything in particular about him? Spirit, he's all right. There's no flies on Roosevelt. Doctor, is he president? Spirit, of course he is. He just got in. McKinley was also a good man, but Mark Hanna had an awful influence over him. It's a long time since I bothered with politics. I've been shut up for a long time, but my God and stars in heaven, I'm nearly crazy from that woman talking all the time. Doctor, what woman is it that talks so much? Spirit, can't you see her? Doctor, she might not be here. Spirit, oh yes she is. It's that woman, referring to the patient. Doctor, what does she talk about? Spirit, nothing but nonsense. She makes me sick. Doctor, what does she say in particular? Spirit, nothing. She has not sense enough. She mocks me every once in a while. I'm going to get her someday. Stars in heaven, she's terrible. Doctor, now friend, I want you to understand your condition. You have lost your physical body and are now a spirit. Spirit, I have a body. If only that woman would keep still. Doctor, this is not your body. Spirit, stars in heaven, whose body is it? Doctor, my wife's. Spirit, stars in heaven and the heat from the sun, I am not your wife. How could I be your wife when I am a man? That's funny. Doctor, you are an invisible spirit. Spirit, you mean a ghost. For heaven's sakes. Talk United States. Doctor, ghosts and spirits are the same thing. Spirit, I know ghosts and I know spirits. Doctor, they both mean the same thing. Taking the hand of the psychic. Spirit, say, it's not nice for a man to hold another man's hand. If you want to hold hands, get hold of some lady's hand and hold that. Men don't hold each other's hands. That's cold joy. Doctor, tell us what that woman says. Spirit, she just talks and says nothing. Doctor, is she young or old? Spirit, she's not so very young. I get so mad at her. Doctor, I'm telling you the fact. When I say you are a spirit. Spirit, when did I die then? Doctor, it must have been some time ago. Roosevelt has not been president for many years. He is a spirit like yourself. Spirit, just like I am? Why, he's dead then. Doctor, so are you. Spirit, when I'm here and listening to you, I can't be dead. Doctor, you have lost your body. Spirit, say, don't hold my hand. It's such cold joy. Doctor, I am holding my wife's hand. Spirit, well, you can hold her hand, but let mine alone. Doctor, do you recognize this hand as yours? Spirit, that isn't my hand. Doctor, it's the hand of my wife. Spirit, but I'm not your wife. Doctor, you are using my body's wife, only temporarily. You lost your own body a long time ago. Spirit, how did that happen? Doctor, I don't know. Do you know you are in Los Angeles, California? Spirit, God and stars in heaven, how did I come to California? I had no money. You know there are 2 women here? One doesn't talk so much. She looks to me like she was sick. Another spirit obsessing the patient. She doesn't say much, but I suppose she's so annoyed because the other woman talks so awful. Please don't hold my hand. I like to feel free. If I were alone with a lady and I could hold her hand, that would be a different story. Aren't you satisfied to hold just one hand? Doctor, I have to hold both because you will not be quiet. Now let us not lose any more time. Spirit, I wish sometimes I didn't have so much time on my hands. Doctor, we will give you something to do. Spirit, you will? That's good. If you can give me some work of some kind, I shall be very glad. Do you want me to fix horses' shoes? I used to shoe horses. Doctor, in what state? Spirit, Texas. That's a big state. Doctor, did you roam around a good deal? Spirit, yes, quite a little. I was in Galveston, Dallas, San Antonio, many other places. I traveled everywhere I wanted to go. I went to Houston and other cities. Doctor, you are a spirit and have been allowed to control my wife's body for a short time. We do not see you. Spirit, say, just look at those devils there, limping around like that bunch of little imps, obsessing spirits. They are all around that woman, Mrs. B. Doctor, you take them all with you when you leave. Spirit, not much I won't. Touching necklace. What in the world is this? That is my wife's neck ornament. Spirit, your wife? Doctor, you have been brought here for enlightenment. You were fired out from that other lady. Spirit, yes, with lightning. For the life of me, I never saw anything like it. There used to be thunder and lightning storms in Texas and in Arkansas, but lightning did not strike every time as it did from me. Doctor, you will not have that thunder and lightning any more. Spirit, I will not? That's good. Doctor, was your mother living in Texas? Spirit, certainly, but she is dead. I should know because I was at her funeral. Doctor, you were at the funeral of her body, not her spirit, soul, or mind. Spirit, I suppose she went to heaven. Doctor, look around and see if you can see her. Spirit, where? Doctor, she might be here. Spirit, what place is this anyhow? If I am your wife, I have never seen you before. Doctor, you are not my wife. Spirit, you called me your wife. Doctor, I did not say that you are my wife. You are temporarily using her body. Spirit, for God's sake in heaven and hell, how can I get out of your wife? Doctor, be sensible. What do those imps say? Spirit, they say they are going to stay, but I say, and say it strong, that they are all going to go. Doctor, do you want them to go with you? Spirit, I should say I do. Doctor, I can help them a great deal by reforming them. You can help them a great deal by reforming them and making them understand their condition. They need help. You are all ignorant spirits and have been bothering that lady. I am the one who gave you the lightning and chased you out. You can all go to the spirit world and learn how to progress. Spirit, is that woman going too? There's a whole lot, a gang, but I haven't seen any of them until lately. Doctor, can you see anybody you know? Just sit quietly for a moment and look around. Spirit, excitedly, why, here comes Nora! A spirit. Doctor, who is Nora? Spirit, Nora Huntington, she's my sister. Doctor, ask her if your name is Jimmy Huntington. Spirit, she says it is, and that she hasn't seen me for such a long time. Suddenly puzzled. But she's dead. Doctor, let her explain the situation. Spirit, she says, Jimmy, you come home with me. Where shall I come? Spirit, Doctor, what does she say? Spirit, she says to the spirit world, but I don't believe her. Doctor, was your sister in the habit of lying to you? Spirit, no. Doctor, if she were honest before, would she lie now? Spirit, she says she has been hunting for me for years and she didn't know where I was. Doctor, where has she been? Spirit, well, she's dead. I was at her funeral. I know well that she was not buried alive. Doctor, you went to the funeral of her body, but not her spirit. Spirit, this is her ghost, then. Doctor, she is probably an intelligent spirit. We do not need to argue about that anymore. Let her explain. Spirit, she says, let us go, Jimmy, and take the gang with us. She says there is a missionary and helps. There is a missionary. That she is a missionary and helps everybody she can. She says she helps unfortunates. I have been unfortunate too. Doctor, tell this lady, this other spirit you have been talking about, to go with you. Spirit, she says if she leaves, she has nobody. Doctor, tell her she has a spirit body. She doesn't need a physical body. Tell her that they will teach her how to progress. You take the imps along too. Spirit, I can't carry them all with me. How do you know they all want to go with us? Doctor, they will go if you can show them anything better than they have now. Probably they've never had any chance in life. Spirit, I never thought of that. Doctor, we cannot blame them altogether. Show them the better way and they will follow. Spirit, where am I now? Doctor, in California. Where in California? Doctor, Los Angeles. Spirit, if you are in California, it doesn't mean that I am there too. Doctor, how could you be anywhere else since you are here? Spirit, of course, that is reasonable. The last I remember I was in Dallas, Texas, and the first thing I knew I was struck on the back of my head. I was shoeing a horse when I was struck. Did he kill me? Doctor, he evidently chased you out of your body. Nobody ever dies. If you don't go soon, your sister will become tired of waiting for you. Spirit, I'll go with her, if you let me, but I'll have to walk. Doctor, how are you going to walk? With my wife's body? You will have to learn a new lesson. Just think yourself with your sister, and you will be there instantly. You will have to travel by thought. Spirit, stars in heaven, that's a new wrinkle. Doctor, now friend, you can't stay any longer. Spirit, that's a nice way to talk to me. Doctor, I don't want you to use my wife's body any longer. Spirit, what body will I get hold of when I get out of here? When I get out from here? Doctor, when you leave this body, you will have your spirit body. That is invisible to us. Spirit, can I jump from this body into a spirit body? Doctor, your sister will explain. Just think yourself with your sister. You do not need any physical body for that purpose. Spirit, I am commencing to get sleepy. Doctor, go with your sister and follow her instructions. You will learn many new lessons in the spirit life. Take all the gang and the little imps with you. Spirit to spirits. Now you come along with me, all of you. The whole lot of you. Doctor, will they all go with you? Spirit, now we are going. Come on, the whole gang of you. Goodbye. On a subsequent date, a spirit, Harry, was brought to the circle for enlightenment, and controlling Mrs. Wicklund, maintained an interesting conversation regarding another spirit that had been troubling Mrs. Burton. Spirit's name's Harry. Doctor, where have you come from? Spirit, I don't know where I am, and I don't know what is the matter with me. Doctor, would you care to know what is the matter? Spirit, I don't know what is the matter. Doctor, did something happen to you? Spirit, that is what I would like to find out. I should like to find out. Doctor, what have you been doing lately? Spirit, I don't know. Doctor, tell us who you are. Do you know? Spirit, well, I should say, well, I think I do. Doctor, where do you think you are? Spirit, I don't know. Doctor, yes, you do. Spirit, no, I don't. Everything is so queer, and it just seems to me I don't know what's the matter. Doctor, can you look back and see whether something happened to you? Spirit, I can't look back. I have no eyes in my back. Doctor, I mean think back. Spirit, think of my back? Doctor, no, think of your past. Just use your thinking faculties. Spirit, I don't know anything. Doctor, you must not be so mentally lazy. Spirit, what can a man do? Doctor, this is a woman sitting here. Are you a man or a woman? Spirit, I am a man. That fellow is a man, and the others are women. I have always been a man. I was never a woman and never will be. You know I am a man. Doctor, look at your hands. Where did you get them? Spirit, those are not my hands. Doctor, look at your feet. Spirit, those are not mine either. They are not mine either. I never was a woman, and I don't want women's hands and feet, and I don't want to borrow anyone's body now. Doctor, how old are you? Spirit, well, I'm not a young kid. Doctor, you are probably old in years, but not in knowledge. Spirit, no, I don't know that I have so much knowledge. Doctor, if you had knowledge, you would not be in your present position. Spirit, that has nothing to do with knowledge. Doctor, knowledge is just what you lack. Tell us what your name is. Is it Mary? Spirit, have you ever heard of a man being named Mary? That's ridiculous. Doctor, then tell us what your name is. I can only guess. Spirit, for goodness sakes, alive man, it's a man's name, not a woman's. Doctor, introduce yourself. Spirit, what in the devil do you need my name for? Doctor, you are well versed in English. Did you have white hair as you do now? Referring to the hair of the psychic. Spirit, I had gray hair. Doctor, did you wear curls as you are doing now? Spirit, no, I don't like them. Doctor, did you wear a comb? Spirit, do you ever know of a man wearing a comb? Doctor, where did you get that wedding ring? Spirit, I didn't steal anything. I don't want a woman's hand. Doctor, John, where did you come from? Spirit, I am not named John. Doctor, what did your wife call you? What did your mother call you? Spirit, she called me Harry. I was not married. Doctor, what is your other name? Spirit, I do not need to tell my name to a lot of women. Doctor, there are some gentlemen present. Spirit, how in the world did I get into this crowd of women? I hate women. Doctor, you must have been disappointed in love. What was the trouble? Spirit, I'd be a big fool to tell my secrets to a lot of women. Doctor, why did she marry the other man? Spirit, who? Doctor, the girl who jilted you. Spirit, she never in my life. No. Doctor, weren't you disappointed in love? Spirit, no. Doctor, then why do you hate women? Spirit, I must not tell you any of my secrets before this bunch of women so they can sit here and laugh at me. I should like to know why all these women are staring at me. What's the matter with that man over there? Spirit, I mean the one behind that lady. Mrs. Burton seated in the circle. Mrs. B, I'm a man-hater. He can keep away from me. Spirit, why is that man around her? Is he her husband? Lady, what does he hang around you for? What's the matter with you? Do you like him so well that you want him to stick to you like glue? Doctor, ask him how long he's been dead. Spirit, he sure is an ugly thing. I'm afraid of him. He looks like he wants to fight. Doctor, ask him how long he's been dead. Spirit, dead? He sticks so she can't move without him. Whenever she moves, he moves. He seems to me like a monkey. Mrs. B, say, take him away with you, will you? Spirit, why should I take him for? For God's sakes, I don't know the fellow. Do you like him, lady? Mrs. B, no, I don't. I'm tired of him. Spirit, what's the matter with him? Is he your husband? Mrs. B, no, he's not, and I don't understand it myself. Spirit, do you like him? Mrs. B, no, I don't want him. No, I want him to get away from me. Spirit, where am I anyhow? Doctor, you are in Los Angeles, California. Spirit, there's also a woman around her, and she sticks like glue. Mrs. B, are you here to help us? Can't you take those things away from me? Spirit, do you like that man? Who is with you? Mrs. B, no, I'm wild to get rid of him. The door is wide open. He can surely go. Spirit, for God's sake, shut the door. I don't want such a man following me. Why don't you tell the police? Can't the police take him away from you if you don't want him? Doctor, they are all spirits. Spirit, spirits? Doctor, yes, like yourself. Spirit, oh, you tell me that man is a ghost, that one standing behind that woman there. Doctor, can you see him? Spirit, he's no spirit, he's a man. He stands there. He's afraid she will get away from him, and he can't follow. She says he's sick of her. He says he is sick of her. Doctor, he is a spirit but does not understand it. She does not see him, and neither do we. He is invisible to us. Spirit, what kind of a place is this I came to? Doctor, we cannot see you either. Spirit, you can't. Don't you hear me? Doctor, we hear you, but we can't see you. Spirit, is this a crowd of blind people? I can see them all, and lots more. The whole room is full of people. Doctor, we can hear you, but we can only hear you through a woman's body. Spirit, now you're kidding me. You think that I would ever talk through a woman? Not much. I would not go across the street to talk through a woman. You know, I can't understand what this thing is. I don't know why I should be here. I don't know what's the matter. All of you are sitting around looking at me. Why are there people standing around each one here? There are others standing around looking at me too. Could they have conversation with a fellow? Doctor, if I explain to you, will you try to understand? In the first place, you are dead, as people would say. Spirit, if I am dead one, that's a good thing. Doctor, you yourself are not dead. Spirit, you said I was dead. Doctor, you are dead to your own people and friends. We know you are not dead in reality. You only lost your physical body, but you also have a spirit body. When you pass out of your mortal body, you find yourself alive, and you have a spirit body, but you cannot explain it. Spirit, I know I have been walking a very great deal, and it seems to me I never get anywhere. I saw a lot of people here. I came here with the crowd, and before I knew it, everything was light, and I saw you all sitting around in a circle singing. I thought it was a prayer meeting, so I stopped, and before I knew anything, I could talk. Before then, I thought I must be deaf and dumb, and blind because I could not see anything, and I am so tired. Doctor, most of those you see here are spirits like yourself. Spirit, why are we here? Doctor, many have been brought to obtain understanding. You yourself are controlling my wife's body. You are not my wife, but you are using my wife's body. It does not make any difference how strange it seems to you. It is a fact. You are invisible to us, and you are speaking through my wife's organism. That man you speak of is a spirit too. Take him with you when you go. He is invisible to us. Spirit, I should like to fight him. Doctor, did you ever read the Bible? Spirit, yes, a long time ago. I have not seen one for a long time. Doctor, do you remember reading in the Bible about obsessing spirits that Jesus cast out? He is one of that kind. Spirit, they are all around that woman, Mrs. B. Mrs. B, I have the door closed now. Spirit, if you keep the door closed, I'll take them along with me. I want to fight that fellow anyhow. What's your name? Doctor, does he say? Spirit, he says his name is Jim McDonald. Don't you know him, lady? If he is a spirit, for goodness sake, why does he hang on that woman when she doesn't want him? Doctor, perhaps he found himself there, as you found yourself here. You say you saw a crowd, a light, and here you are. Spirit, that man says he was walking in the dark and saw that lady. Say, will I always have to stay here too? Quest? What are the names of those around me? This was asked by another patient. Spirit, there are two. They fight once in a while. I see them fighting. Question, I fight them too. Doctor, do not fight them physically. That gives them strength and magnetism. When you fight them in that way, you give them much more strength. You hold them by fighting them as you do. Fight them mentally. Why don't you try to close up? Spirit, I will take them along too if I can. Don't fist fight them anymore. I don't know what's the matter with me. I feel strange. Doctor, where was your home? Spirit, it was in Detroit, Michigan. Doctor, what year can you recall? Spirit, I can't recall any. Doctor, who is president? I don't know for sure, but I think Cleveland? Doctor, he was president a long time ago. Spirit, I have been walking so long. I feel tired. Is there any rest for a weary person? Have you a bed so I can lie down and rest? Doctor, if you look around, you will see intelligent spirits. Spirit, why, I see some beautiful girls. No, girls, I will not come with you. Don't try to fool me. I'm not going with you, not much. Doctor, they are different from the girls you have known. They are not mortal girls, they are spirits. Spirit, they have a smile like others to give to a man. Doctor, they are different altogether. They help spirits who need help. Spirit, those girls seem to be honest, but you know I hate women. Doctor, you should not condemn them all because one was false. Spirit, you see, I want to take all those folks with me. If I can, I will take them with me. I think I will follow those girls anyhow, surprised. Why, there's my mother. She's been dead and gone for a long time. Doctor, she's not dead. Spirit, don't you think she's in heaven? Doctor, ask her. She can speak for herself. Spirit, she says she is in a beautiful place called the spirit world. Doctor, the spirit world surrounds the physical. Heaven is a condition within you. When you have found that, you will be contented and happy. That is what Jesus taught also. Spirit, I should like to go with my mother. She's a good old lady. I want to take McDonald along too. Come here, McDonald. I don't want to stay around here any longer, and I want you to come along. He acts as if he's trying hard to wake up. Say, come on, McDonald, let us be good fellows, and go with those girls, for they might be honest and sincere. Mother, will you come along too? I will go now. Goodbye. Come on, you fellows, say, what do you stick with that woman for anyhow? I should be ashamed of myself hanging around her. I'm going. Goodbye. Mrs. B, be sure you take them along with you. Doctor, what is your name? Spirit, Harry, that is all I can remember. I have not heard my name for many years. Doctor, make the others understand the folly of staying. Spirit, I'm going to take those fellows along. Now you look here, you're gonna come with me. You're gonna come along with me. I'll fight every damn one of you that won't come. You ought to be ashamed to stick around a woman like you do. Now come along with me. You see, they come. I'll look after them all right. Goodbye. During another circle, Frank, one of the spirits interfering with Mrs. Burton, left her and controlled the intermediary, exhibiting little trace of memory in any form.